it's Captain Aura here, bringing you another video on Pokemon Champions. I'm going to be bringing you the team report for the Mega Tyranitar team that I played in the VGCA tournament, where I finished first out of 36 competitors on Saturday the 11th of April. Now my plan for this video is to break down the team, the individuals comprising of the team, explaining the EV's choices and potential matchups that you might play with this team. I will mention that some of the EVs are from previous experience in Scarlet and Violet. I've used those because they were comfortable at the time, and they could evolve later down the line. So let's break down the team and into the individual Pokemon. Before we start, I'm going to be thanking Manny for making this team report app. I will be linking their X account below in the description, so definitely go check them out. They explain basically how this app works for you if you want to make team reports for any team that you build. These can be shared privately or publicly. Obviously I'm going to be sharing this team report publicly below in the description as well. But let's get into the team breakdown on this one. So obviously, as I mentioned, I built a Mega Tyranitar Sand team. Now I wanted to pair this with Garchomp. Garchomp is one of my favourite Pokemon, and I think it forms a kind of classic duo with the Tyranitar, being able to take advantage of its sand. Sand boosts Tyranitar's bulk in the special defense department, while by giving the choice scarf to Garchomp allows Garchomp to outspeed a lot of the meta, allowing me to apply pressure through rock slide or earthquake pressure, with a lot of spread damage from both Tyranitar and Garchomp if I positioned correctly. The win condition for a lot of games was trying to chip everything early with sand and spread damage, and then positioning Dragon Dance Tyranitar or Scarf Garchomp in the end game to kind of clean up. Now if we go into the first three Pokemon of this team, I'll give it a little breakdown, but I'll break them down a little bit further later on. So we've got Garchomp, Mega Tyranitar and Sneasler. Garchomp, as I mentioned, was a fast sweeper. I will just mention that the readings there say it's 207 speed. It actually hits 250 free speed with max investment Jolly, which is what I had. So that's the speed it hits. It does outspeed a lot with that speed stat, so that's something that you could kind of tune and mess around with if you wanted to make it bulkier, but as I mentioned, it was a former spread that I used and I was comfortable using that spread. The Mega Tyranitar, we look at it as a setup weather sweeper, being able to reset the sand with its Mega, but also being able to set itself up with the Dragon Dance, boosting its speed and attack. Knockoff I think is really nice in this format because you're able to remove those berries that might be resisting some of your attacks on this team. The Sneasler is like an anti-Intimidate sweeper. We want to get rid of an Intimidate mon as quickly as possible, not allowing them to do their pivot in and out game, hurting Pokemon that might switch into those spots if they hard pivot as well. Gunk Shot's a nice little tech that I'll speak about later, and the spread is something that I'll speak about a little bit later, as it's something a little bit niche and something I had a couple of ideas and thoughts around before playing it in the tournament. Now if we go down to our last three members who are our supportive cast of this team, we look at them from a couple of perspectives. One is I wanted to have Intimidate on this team to make our attackers live a little bit longer. There's a couple of threats on teams that can physically KO some of our Pokemon. Obviously Tyranitar being super fighting weak, we do have to play around that. Even with a single Intimidate, it's most likely that Tyranitar will still go down to a close combat from a Sneasler, so don't think after one Intimidate, even if they don't have White Herb, you're going to survive that. That's just something you need to take an account for. But obviously Gyarados is built on the bulkier set, so it can stick around. It could be a nuisance to fast Pokemon by T-waving them, giving you a chance to get that kind of para flinch hacks on the teams. And you've also got Taunt to stop any kind of annoying moves or trick rooms going off. The Rotom-Heat is there as a pivot support. Speaking to a friend who has a lot of experience with weather teams, they said the most important thing is being able to reset your weather. Obviously one of those ways is via Mega, but obviously he mentioned without Mega you kind of want to be able to pivot Pokemon in and out, and Volt Switch is quite a nice way to pivot those Pokemon out. I did consider Eerie Impulse, but I decided to go with Will-O-Wisp because of a lot of the Pokemon having physically kind of weak Pokemon in the meta. The attackers are more physically heavy on that side, and I felt that the certain Pokemon could deal with the special attackers anyway. Sinistcha is a great addition to the team. Obviously it helps with the setup. You can redirect any fighting attacks away from it as long as they're not scrappy like Mega Bunny. The other nice thing is that once you pivot Sinistcha in, you get Hospitality, so you can heal up any Pokemon like the T-Tar after it gets set up. Actually pivot back out, get the Intimidate down, or bring the Fake Out back in with the Sneasler. So what I'll do now is we'll go on to the next section where we'll break down each individual Pokemon, looking at some defensive calcs and rationales behind certain things. So our first one that we're going to overview is Garchomp. I think Garchomp's really important for this team. Obviously T-Tar not being the fastest, normally you would see this next to a Sand Rush Extra Drill with either like a Focus Sash or a White Herb. Obviously we don't have access to Life Orb, but I think Garchomp's really good in terms of its typing for this team. It doesn't share many weaknesses with T-Tar, obviously Fairy probably being the biggest one, but I think it obviously then adds to good spread damage like an Extra Drill would. But I do like T-Tar quite a lot also because of the ability that you can couple with. I will mention that obviously Rough Skin is a lot more consistent than Sandvale, but Sandvale feels good for this team because of the attempt in the game plans of trying to keep Sand going, especially when you're playing Weather Wars in this meta. You're using T-Tar quite a lot to get those Sands up, and there will be games where it does come into play and does win you games, especially in those end games. That's quite crucial. I had it a couple of times during this tournament where I managed to get a Sandvale proc, something would miss, it would position T-Tar or Garchomp in a really good position, and we could basically sweep from that. Now obviously I mentioned before the speed stat does read as 207, it is 253 for it because it's got the scarf and it's max invested, so that's just something to note there. But obviously Garchomp's role is basically to KO anything that T-Tar doesn't like dealing with, namely Sneaslers and fellow Garchomps. So it's trying to put those in range of certain attacks so that it can deal back damage. The T-Tar can get set up freely and open up those opportunities. I do have a couple of offensive calcs to show. So one of them being Stomping Tantrum onto the Incineroar. You do get a 34 to 42% roll, which puts it into a free hit KO. If you combine that with CC, that will basically take it off the field, even if both of them are at -1. So that's a good thing to know. As I mentioned, we don't want Intimidate being laid down onto the T-Tar. The T-Tar is there to get set up and basically sweep at the end game. Or similarly, we want basically Garchomp to be free. So obviously I've done the calc again for Stomping Tantrum from this version. It's not adamant, it's only got 26 attack invested, but it does give you a roll of 52, so basically a 2-hit KO. And the other important matchup for Garchomp to kind of deal with is the Garchomp. So the Garchomp, you get basically a 74 to 88% roll on basically the 2 HP 0 defense version. Obviously there are some bulkier ones running around, so when you play you've just kind of got to gauge what kind of damage rolls you're getting. I did mention Sneasler as one of the sweepers. I didn't think it was an important calc to involve because without Intimidate, Stomping Tantrum should be enough to basically KO the Sneasler. The next one's to kind of take into considerations, and I did have these coming up in games on ladder or in tournament. So one of the kind of nice ones was actually versus Mega Magania. You can actually survive the Dazzling Gleam by quite a significant amount. That actually won me a game on ladder, which is quite nice to see, especially if it was a spread damage. If it's single damage, it's obviously going to KO your Garchomp, so don't expect it to live. The next one was versus opposing Garchomps. Because you have a little bit more HP, it's not a direct KO. However, because they're going to be 32 adamant, on them. You can again gauge that roll using Intimidate to potentially drop their attack down and then give yourself the advantage in that matchup. Is important to kind of consider as well. Those are just two counts to kind of keep in mind for Garchomp. I will say, obviously, if you are facing against a Floette, modest 252 will KO 252, sorry, 32 will KO this Garchomp. So effectively you need to stop that Floette from moving with a fake out or a T-wave or anything you can do to kind of stop it and position something that can eat that hit. Rotom is a good switch in for Garchomp in that matchup, especially if they're paired with a Sinistcha, because the following turn you can deal with the Sinistcha and hopefully KO it that way. Next thing, as I mentioned, it hits 253 speed with max speed investment and choice scarf. This outspeeds everything in the meta, other than Unburn Sneasler and also Sand Rush Excadrill, and anything under Tailwind. So that's just something important to take count of. But as I mentioned, you have a good matchup into the Sneasler. As long as you can get the Stomping Tantrum off first, you should be moving first before that White Herb gets procced. Again, if you do have Gyarados in the back, just make a consideration of when you want to bring the Gyarados in. There are some plays that you can make with the Gyarados to proc the White Herb, but that is mainly when you're looking to attack with the Sneasler on this team. Going forward with that one. Garchomp felt really reliable in this matchup. I brought Garchomp pretty much to every game in the tournament, as shown by some of the footage that will be shown after this one. So hopefully you enjoy this Pokemon. As I mentioned, don't rely too much on Sandbell procking. When it happens, it's nice, but it's there as a chance, not as the most consistent method. If you wanted to, you could change to Rough Skin for the chip damage, but I felt Sandbell plus the sand was quite a nice combination, so I kept with that for the tournament. So next up is Mega Tyranitar. Obviously Mega Tyranitar being the focus of the team. This is because of its ability Sandstream. This allows us to play in a meta that's heavily dependent around weather wars. Obviously this kind of gives us a matchup check into a lot of their weather teams. Obviously it's around positioning that weather, so we do have some tools in the team to support with that. Obviously the Mega being quite a good tool in itself. Obviously when you Mega, you reset up the sand, but that's about trying to position that, making sure you don't tear Mega too early to reset that ability, because it can be quite valuable in the late game. I quite liked leaving the Mega until I desperately needed it. It did come handy in quite a few games, especially after getting a Dragon Dance set up or two. Now effectively the Mega Tyranitar is quite vulnerable to certain attacks, so the rest of the team does need to support it becoming a nuisance to deal with after being set up. So there are combinations that you can work with the Mega Tyranitar to support this as well. The Mega Tyranitar hits a speed of 112, and before Mega it's 102. Offensively, you're looking at Mega Tyranitar doing quite a significant amount of damage once it Megas. I didn't put any of the +1 calcs in because I just wanted to show the raw kind of calcs with Intimidate involved as well. Looking at some of maybe the problem Pokemon for Tyranitar to deal with. Obviously Tyranitar, I will just say straight away, won't be able to deal with any fighting types. You'll need to intimidate them quite a lot for Tyranitar to be able to stay on the field. It's got 4 times weakness, so don't expect it to be able to eat a close combat or Aura Sphere. Or sorry, not an Aura Sphere, because that's a special attack that will be able to eat it as long as it stands up. But looking at the Rock Slides onto Incineroar, it does significant damage, being able to chip it down. Obviously the nice thing with Rock Slide is obviously you're going to get that side effect of potential chance to flinch each turn. Pair that with the, let's say, the Thunder Wave from the Garchomp, you then got those para flinches, or if you pair it with the Rock Slide on Garchomp, then you've got increased chances of the flinches because you're getting a double hit. Rock Slide obviously has a chance to miss, so just be aware of that. Knockoff is really nice, so you can see the Sinistcha damage count there. It does have a 56 5% chance of KOing a Sinistcha that's impish with 32 HP and 14 in defense after sandstorm damage. So that's quite a nice calc to have offensively, so that's just something to bear in mind when you're looking at it. Defensively, I think one of the biggest worries is obviously Archaludon with its flash cannon. If you do have the sand up, you quite comfortably live this as well. In T-Tar form and in Mega T-Tar form, obviously you live it slightly better because your bulk gets that increase from BST being increased. The other one is obviously opposing Garchomps. Again, if you look at the normal T-Tar with the defense and the bulk that I've given it, I did give this T-Tar quite a lot of bulk because my focus was around being bulky, then getting the setup in while being disrupted with my other Pokemon, looking at my other Pokemon to sweep. So you can see this in the defensive nature of this Pokemon. Not a lot can kind of KO it, but as you can see, I did include that close combat calc at -1. It still has a 68% chance to KO, so you're going to have to either burn it and intimidate it, or double intimidate it, which is going to be hard to really position because you're not going to get much room to have T-Tar on the field, bring out your intimidator, then bring out your protect and bring out your intimidator, because they're probably going to launch down Mega T-Tar at that point. Mega Charizard with Solar Beam, this is out in the sun. If it's at maximum health, it does have 84 to 99.5% chance to KO. So damage roll. So it's a guaranteed 2-hit KO, obviously just taking into account if you've taken any chip before that point as well. That's something to take care of as well. In terms of its speed tiering, as I mentioned, it hits 112 as a Mega, so after one speed boost it hits 168 speed and outspeeds a max speed at Charizard Y or X. That's really good for its matchup, especially if you're dealing with that Sun matchup. One of my favourite combinations with Mega T-Tar is in the Sun matchup if they have a Whimsicott leading Garchomp and Sneasler, kind of going for a gunk shot on the Sneasler into the Whimsicott as they protect the Charizard and pivoting in the T-Tar, so effectively if that gunk shot does hit, it takes it down to Sash and then the Sand Chip takes it away. So even if they set up Tailwind, we have a kind of guaranteed way of guaranteeing our weather, and that's why then it's important not to mega straight away. Maybe a little bit defensive, bringing in the Gyarados to then slow down their Tailwind turns and reposition with your Pokemon so they can't just kind of blow you away with those Tailwind turns on that one. So next up is our anti-intimidate mon. So we haven't used a defiant mon in this slot or a competitive mon, we've used Sneasler with the white herb. Obviously the benefit of using Sneasler with the white herb is you get the unburden while removing the intimidate drop. Obviously that's really important because the most popular intimidator is Incineroar, and Incineroar hates getting hit by close combat. Now obviously you do need to take care of the Incineroar being Trample Berry, but that's something you can scout for, especially in a best of 3 format. If you're playing this on best of format, it's just something to take into consideration. You might want to double this up with, let's say, a Stomping Tantrum plus a close combat. I didn't get it off. This Sneasler is slightly differently built. It is running at 160 speed, so it is usually slower than quite a few Pokemon, including other opposing Sneaslers. It is adamant, but it does have quite a bit of bulk, and that is for the purpose of its defensive nature. I wanted Sneasler to be able to stick around a little bit longer than most other Sneaslers. Usually you can see Sneaslers kind of getting KO'd by dual wing beat. This one, after a intimidate onto the Aerodactyl, will actually survive the dual wing beat, so that's actually really important information to know, especially if you're facing against Aerodactyl. There's quite a lot of Aerodactyl running around in the format. Gyarados really helps into that matchup, keeping Sneasler around and available for you to use, especially if you get that close combat off or get intimidated and then you get that unburden proc. The interesting thing with this Sneasler as well is I've chosen Gunk Shot over Dialclaw. Now obviously Gunk Shot is a 120 base poison attack with stab. It's really good into those fairy Pokemon. It obviously does have the chance to miss. I've liked it, I've enjoyed it. The reason why I've actually ran it is because it will KO a 32 HP and 32 defense bold Floette. Floette being the new mega on the scene, being really relevant, was kind of felt that Dialga wasn't doing enough damage. I also noticed that against Clefable's it would take 2 hits of Dialga to actually KO that Pokemon, even if you were adamant. So this is going into these defensive cats again. So as I mentioned, with a impish Incineroar, you have a 31.25% chance of actually KOing it. Whereas if you reverse that to be a careful Incineroar, which quite a few of them are running at the moment according to the data on Pokemon Champions, you almost have a guaranteed KO. This is why a lot of them are running Chocolate Berry, so that is something you do need to scout for if you are playing on a closed team sheet. The next nice thing, and I want to mention this, is your Sneasler matchup. Obviously Sneasler is very prevalent in the competition. Being slower gives you kind of an advantage. Now I say this because it comes with some caveats. If you can get the Intimidate down before they CC you, then you basically get them to drop their defenses for you, which is really important when you look at the second calc, looking at the close combat and gunshot calc. You can basically get a higher roll, which puts you in a good position versus their Sneasler. You also can then protect, remove the Intimidate out and place it back in, almost like using an Incineroar in the sense, parting shot out, parting shot in, but you're just hard hitting out your Gyarados. The other one, as I mentioned, is the really bulky Floette. You can see the calc below. It basically guarantees the KO. Obviously that's taking into consideration there's no Friend Guard and there's no Intimidate placed on the Sneasler at that time, so that's just a raw calculation. Obviously Friend Guard and Intimidate will change those calculations alongside Reflect, so that's something to take into consideration if you do see those statuses on the field as well. Defensively, as I mentioned, Intimidate plays quite an important part for this Pokemon. Effectively, you'd have a very slim chance of living a Adamant Aerodactyl. It's about lower than a 4% chance, so I wouldn't bank on it. However, if you do get an Intimidate on that Aerodactyl with the dual wing beat, you actually live it by about 22%. Obviously, this is taking into account that you're not getting doubled up at that time. With the Charizard Heat Wave as well, in the sun, you have they have a 25% chance to KO, so obviously 75% chance that you will live from max HP. That's quite a nice calculation as well. And obviously the other one that you kind of want to use Sneasler to deal with is Archaludon. Sneasler into Archaludon is really good, especially if they don't get a stamina proc. So they only have a 37.5% chance to get an electroshock OHKO on you. So that's quite a good calc. Obviously that can be rearranged if you wanted to put more bulk into HP, if you would prefer it. But obviously by calculations it's better to have defense than into HP for your Sneasler. And then again, just obviously show Pumping Tantrum from Garchomp max attack adamant does KO, but if you do get an Intimidate down, if you're at maximum HP, you can actually survive that hit with this spread as well. With the speed tier, obviously it being 160 speed, it's important to remember that you are actually slower than other Sneasers, but this makes game plans kind of easier to play around. You can kind of decide when you want to proc your White Herb, and then you'll hit around 320, which kind of outspeeds quite a lot in meta, including your own Garchomp, so that's important information to remember. You are going to outspeed your own Garchomp and therefore be going first, so if you wanted to combine attacks with your Garchomp, take something down to low HP, you can go for a CC and then follow up with, let's say, a Stomping Tantrum or Dragon Claw into that Pokemon. Fourth on our team is our Intimidate Pokemon, Gyarados. Now, Gyarados is built on the bulkier side to allow it to be the disruptive set. This was brought onto the team to basically mainly for the Venu matchup. There was a lot of Venusaur when I was building this team. Dip Powder was really annoying to deal with, so Lumberry plus Taunt felt like a good idea on this team, while also having T-Wave to slow down faster Pokemon. This can combine really nicely with Rock Slide. Obviously T-Wave plus Rock Slide gives an increased flinch chance, so obviously your opponent not being able to move, alongside waterfall as well. Because of this, I've built the Gyarados on the bulkier side and the special defensive side of that, because the Intimidate will obviously protect from the physical attackers if you lay down the Intimidate at the correct time. What I will mention obviously is that some of the defensive calcs are important for some of the other Pokemon, so obviously as I mentioned for them, I'll mention these as well. So you can see from, like, for example, a Garchomp and Dragon Claw, that goes down from 2-hit KO into a 3-hit KO range. The Aerodactyl, as I mentioned, is a very meta-relevant Pokemon right now, being one of the faster Tailwind setters alongside Talonflame and Whimsicott being predominantly used. You can get a Intimidate down on it. Obviously Sneasler can survive with the dual Wing Beat, and Aerodactyl can't KO the Gyarados in 2 hits. It becomes a 3-hit KO. The other reason why we built this on the special defensive side is for the Mega Charizard. Why? Solar Beam now becomes a 35 to 41% roll. I think if you don't have it built in special defensive, it goes more towards a 2-hit KO range. And then I did mention the Arch. There's quite a nice switch in, but I will mention that obviously any electric type attacks into this Pokemon is basically a 4-hit KO. So figuring out when to switch in Garchomp to eat those electric type damage attacks is quite important as well. Now its speed tier hits 112. I've noticed that it says it's slightly a little bit wrong on there, but the stats on the side are correct. But it hits 112 because we sacrifice the speed for overall bulk and staying power to be annoying to opponents' teams. It does speed time with Max King Gambit. It's not something common, but it has popped up sometimes. So it's able to taunt to stop any Sword Dance setup. So if you did want to outspeed Max Speed King Gambit, you can take a stat point out of potentially his attack stat or his defensive stat, move it into the speed just so you're 1 point faster if you were finding that as a difficult matchup, but I don't think it's hugely relevant. Also, you are bringing an Intimidate Pokemon into King Gambit, which doesn't feel so good if you get that turn wrong and then Intimidate the King Gambit and giving it a +2 already. It doesn't need to Sword Stance. So our penultimate Pokemon kind of covers a few things for the matchups. Now, one thing I didn't mention with the Gyarados is obviously you are a flying type. The next to Garchomp, you can Earthquake quite freely, not worrying about damaging your own Pokemon. This can be said the same for Rotom-Heat because of the ability to levitate, so it's not ground weak. It's obviously able to then attack at the same time. Whether it's doing a massive overheat into a weak Pokemon, like a steel type. This team doesn't like steel types too much, so Rotom-Heat felt really good for the team, or Volt Switch to get the sand and weather back up. I will mention obviously Will-O-Wisp, as I mentioned previously before. It helps out with those physical calcs, so your team can not die to those physical attacks as well. So it's worth thinking about which, maybe you want to bring the Intimidator or do you want to bring the Will-O-Wisp. In the finals, Rotom-Heat was massive. I was able to get Will-O-Wisp and Volt Switch in and out to keep my team safe. Rotom-Heat was also able to handle the Sinistcha. The only other real Pokemon on the team that can handle the Sinistcha is the Tyranitar, and sometimes you don't want the Tyranitar being on the field next to, let's say, the Sinistcha and something that can hit it super hard and effective. Obviously, it's a really strong fire type, as mentioned. I find this really good into Pokemon like Corviknight and King Gambit, able to unleash a massive overheat, take them either down to like a low HP or KO them. Absolutely, it's a really great Pokemon to have on the team. I gave it the Pistachio Berry, but considering giving it Leftovers or Charty Berry, but I recognised that actually I was probably going to bring this Pokemon into the rain matchup. It being able to live water type attacks is quite nice, especially when you turn off that weather with the sand, able to Volt Switch out off, let's say, those Basculegions, unless they're a really bulky variant. You can kind of KO them quite quickly. A nice play again, similar to the Sneasler play on Whimsicott I like making, is being able to pivot in the T-Tar to set the stand, Volt Switching off of the Pelipper and it dying on the following turn, forcing it either to set up a Tailwind or going for an attack that might not be super effective anymore. Offensively, obviously I've added in some attacks around those steel types that I mentioned that can be annoying. One of those that is picking up a lot is Mega Aggron, so I wanted to include this as well because obviously this is really good into Mega Aggron. It does around 70% as well, being a fire type, and obviously the Will-O-Wisp slowing it down on its body press damage. The Volt Switch doing quite a lot of damage onto the Basculegion as well, around 70%. That kind of puts it in a good range for the Garchomp to deal with. Garchomp will naturally outspeed it outside the rain as well, so that's something to consider when you build out your game plans against rain teams. Defensively, obviously I mentioned the Water Berry. I just wanted to show you how that kind of works. So again, I've done it with Intimidate and without Intimidate. Palafin being another Pokemon I wanted to show. Obviously I know Palafin and Basculegion can kind of switch roles on these rain teams as well, depending on people's preferences. So I just wanted to show how valuable this berry is in there. I will just obviously mention that if they have rain up, it is more in their favor, especially with adaptability, Basculegion and Palafin as well. You do need to either get an Intimidate down or a Will-O-Wisp down. I made sure that obviously in the speed tier that you outspeed a minimum speed Palafin. Most Palafins are maximum HP, a little bit of basically a little bit of physical or special defense, and then max attack. So, but it's something to be careful of as well when you play against them with the Rotom as well. Last but not least, everybody's favourite teacup, Sinistcha. So Sinistcha obviously protects the rest of the teams, has the ability to flip the speed order if you don't have T-Wave or the Unburden. There are some game plans where you will actually focus around Trick Room and then ending the Trick Room by trying to get up a Dragon Dance or getting CC or the Garchomp in to sweep at the end. As mentioned, that is a strategy that you can do. Play a slow game to begin with, use Sinistcha to set up the Trick Room, and then use T-Tar to sweep under the Trick Room, and getting Pokemon in to disrupt or then set up for the end game in that sense. Sinistcha can run quite varied stat. Obviously, as I mentioned, Intimidate being quite important on this team, protect certain Pokemon, so I added a kind of pseudo Intimidate with the Strength Sap. That's quite good for the Sinistcha itself. It can heal up, but you could have other options like Life Dew or Imprison if you wanted to run those and you're finding certain matchups more difficult. Life Dew is quite an interesting one. Obviously, you pivot in, heal up the Pokemon on the side. If that Pokemon, like it's T-Tar, you can protect and then Life Dew to heal it up back up to full, which is interesting in itself because the Sinistcha is bulky. There's only a few attacks that can kind of take it down in predicting whether your opponent's going to be able to double into you. The nice thing about also being a grass type is it does give you another answer into those water types that can be quite pesky for this team to deal with, and you can redirect because there's no safety goggles in the game, so you just got to keep account of if it's a grass type in these games. Offensively, I wanted to show you the counts against the water types, so I've just put the Rotom-Mosh and the Basculegion counts up there. Obviously both doing over 50%, so that's good. That puts it in range of maybe let's say the Garchomp or the Sneasler. If they're outspeeding at that point, they can then obviously KO their Pokemon after following up on the following turn. Defensively, I've designed it to be quite bulky. So one thing obviously to take into account is obviously the Intimidate or the Strength Sap. To lower it basically changes a 100 base power last respects from being a guaranteed KO into a 2-hit KO after the Citrus Berry. The last respects before it getting boosted up is still within that 2-hit KO, so that is something to keep in mind for the end game. If you need Sinistcha to beat the Basculegion, and you get it to -1, so then your berry procs if you're at full HP and you're fine there. Next one to obviously to account for is Sneasler with the Diaclaw. It does below 50%, so it's a 3-hit KO on that one. Just something I wanted to show because obviously I know Diaclaw kind of follows around, but it being a grass ghost typing has a good matchup into that. Next one to just consider is it hits 92 speed, so it's actually faster than Mega Tyranitar and 91. It's not something I planned, but it's something I spotted when I was playing. you'd see someone running a slow Tyranitar for a Trick Room team. It's just something to take into account too, especially in closed team sheet format. Some people will run with speed tiers or certain Pokemon for different various reasons. So recognizing those speed tiers when you're up against them can help you win those games as well. So just to give you an overview of the team, this is the offensive profile, so what the team can hit for effective or super effectively, obviously taking into account resistances as well. So that's just something to take into account when playing the team. Obviously it will have certain matchups that it's very good into, other matchups it will need support around the other pieces. As I mentioned, steel typing, you do have ways into them, so I have designed it where the team can kind of deal with it, but Rotom-Heat does do the majority of the heavy work there. Obviously the common steel type being Corviknight, being a flying steel type, Garchomp and Sneasler are not very good into it, so Rotom comes into play there with its electric and fire type moves, especially because it's on the special side rather than being on the physical side, and a lot of the Corviknights run bulk up or iron defense to become a nuisance for those physical teams, which this team is very much more on the physical end, with 3 of its attackers being physical, so that's something to take into account for that one. The next thing to look at is obviously its defensive type chart. Obviously Rotom not being weak to ground, we mentioned its levitate ability, so you do only have 2 weaknesses to ground, that being Sneasler and Tyranitar. Obviously what I would say is Tyranitar is super weak to fighting, and Garchomp is super weak to ice. Obviously Frostlass being one of the newer megas, so that's a matchup you do need to plan around and try and get your weather in. It. And then as mentioned before, Gyarados is super weak to electric as well, so you do have 4 Pokemon that have 4 times weaknesses, so you do need to plan around those 4 times weaknesses. Obviously Sneasler being the 4th with psychic weakness, so think about when you see those Pokemon on the opponent's teams. Do I need to bring this Pokemon? Is it necessary? How can I play around those weaknesses? Can I get rid of it before I need to bring that Pokemon onto the field? You obviously don't want to get psychic by, like, say, a Mega Delphox. That would be the worst outcome, especially using the Sneasler. Now, I have done some matchup plans. I'm not going to go over them in this video. I will be dropping the link into this report below. Obviously, you can have a look at those matchup plans. I've just introduced basically 2 game plans into these teams, spoke a little bit about it, not too much depth on it, but I tried to cover basically the sand, rain and sun matchup alongside the team that popped up quite a lot, which was the Aerodactyl Mega Floetta, supported by Kingambit, Sinistcha, Instant and Sneasler. I think that'd be quite a common balance team, we can see that being quite a lot. So you can have a look at those matchup plans, kind of give the thoughts on them. I have played those matchups quite a bit, so I do have a kind of idea of what would be good into it. Obviously you've got to consider what Pokemon they're going to bring to counterplay it. Floetta plus Instant on Sinistcha is actually quite a scary combination, I will say, but it isn't impossible to beat, so it's not a terrible matchup. You've just got to think about the sequence of events that you want to happen in that matchup. So that is our Mega Tyranitar team. I'm really proud of this team. It's a team that we did pre-champions before we knew all the Pokemon and the item restrictions that were available in Pokemon Champions. So there has been a few changes, and we did make a few spread changes on certain Pokemon. Originally we were running Adam and Garchomp, the Gyarados had safety goggles, the Rotom's berries changed about 50 times, we've had leftovers, we've had various items, COVID Cloak at one point, but we've changed the items and I think they suit the matchups quite well. They do give us solid game plans into a lot in the meta. I can see this team evolving eventually, potentially through different Pokemon joining or different movesets on the Pokemon, maybe a change to certain spreads on that one as well. I will show you the stats obviously on screen here. We do have the team code above, so if you do want to replicate the team, please go ahead. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, or what your thoughts and feelings are on the team after you've played it for a little while. But I would recommend checking out the last video from the finals of the VGCA Battle Pool tournament. It was a really good game, and I think it will give you some insight in how to pilot the team as well, also recognizing how to exploit what your opponent's doing in a best of 3 format. As I mentioned, Rotom-Heat was an absolute MVP in that matchup, but I didn't bring it to the first game, and I recognised that mistake, and I brought it into the game 2 and 3, and it won me those games. But if you haven't been enjoying the content that you've seen on the site, on YouTube, I do stream regularly during the week on Twitch, so come and join us over there. I regularly do teams like this or various teams. This weekend I'm actually taking part in a streamer tournament where I'll be debuting a spicy team, so come and check that out. That's going to be at 2 PM BST on the 19th of April. Definitely worth coming and checking out. But if you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and a follow, and we'll see you in the next video.